Hello students, welcome back. In this video we're going to add a resource system to our game. This is going to be something that our player has to manage and keep track of, and it's going to come in the form of shield energy. So for our player, our shield energy is essentially going to be our health. If it gets too low, we take too much damage, that's when we're going to trigger a game over and our ship's going to blow up. So let's head to the computer screen and implement this resource system now. So I have lesson 4's starter file open here for Nova Strike on Shield Energy, our new resource system, and I'm going to minimize vscode.dev, and I'm going to open up that file directly. So here's my Nova Strike folder. I'm going to open it and go to lesson number 4 and open its starter file. All right, so right off the bat, what do we have? Well, we still have all of our mechanics from our previous game. I can fire with the F key. There we go. All right, I can launch a bomb with the B key. There we go. And I now have a shield in my HUD, but it's just the word shield. So I don't really know how what that's supposed to mean. So it says shield, but do we actually have shield energy? I don't know if we do at this point. So we got to kind of build this system out. So let's take a look. Mission number 1, it says add the shield energy constants. Hey, this seems familiar. We are putting a new system into our game, the shield system. And so when we do that, we're going to add some constants here in our student edit zone. These constants are going to be dials or knobs that we can turn for this system to adjust how it plays or feels or fits into our game. So if we look, we've got like our player constants and our star constants, and here's our firing constants and our bomb constants, and now we have our shield constants. So it looks like we have 2 knobs that we can turn to adjust the shield energy system. The first is called max shield. This is going to be like, what's the maximum amount of shield we will have when we are at full shield energy. Right now it's set to 0. So I'm going to change this to 100 because for a max value, I love using 100. Then every time we get hit, we're going to lose a certain amount of shield. So let's define that as 100. No, I'm just kidding. That would be really unfair. 1 hit would kill us. That would be a 1-hit kill. Let's define it as 15. I think that's a pretty fair amount. So like, how many hits can we get? Let's see. So if I do 100 divided by 15 is going to give me 6.667 hits. So roughly 7 hits would kill us, right? We'd get to 6 hits and we still have a little bit of health left, and that 7th hit would kill us. So I think that is pretty fair. All right, let's see what else we got here in the shield system. So let's scroll down a little bit more. It looks like I've got 2 new colors. I've got shield bar background color, which is an RGB alpha string, so it's going to be a transparent color. And then I have a shield bar fill color, which looks like it's going to be mainly green with a little bit of red and a little bit of blue. Oh, it's the same as my bullet color, so it's going to be that bullet color that we show. We're going to use that for our shield bar color, so that'll look nice. And then let's look at our gameplay variables. For our gameplay variables, we have 1 new gameplay variable that we can change called shield. So this is going to be the amount of shield that we currently have. So when we're full, we will be at our max shield amount, and then it'll decrease. We take a hit and it'll go down by 15. We'll be at 85, then we'll be at 70, and we'll keep going until we are at 0. And when we are at 0, that's when our ship is going to die. All right, so this is our shield system. Now that we have an overview of it, let's go to mission number 2. Mission number 2 finds us in reset game to defaults. Remember, we call this function anytime we restart our game. Upon, let's see, we're going to call it here when we run the P5 setup function. So when we load our game, it gets called. And we're going to call it in key pressed anytime we start a new game by pressing enter, we call it, or reset our game by pressing R, we call it. So in here, we reset all of our systems. We reposition our player, we redraw our stars, we empty out our bullets and change our cooldowns, we empty out our bombs, and then we now have to reset our shield system. So when we start the game, how much shield do we want to start with? Do we want to start with 0 shield? Not unless we're super, super mean game developers. That would be like That's just, it's rotten, right? Saying, hey, we're going to give you 0 shield to start. We want to start with max shield, our maximum amount, which is 100. So let's set that on the start of our game. Now our shield system is ready to go when we start our game. So let's go to mission 3. We've got 100 shield right now. So if I restart my game right now, I have 100 shield. But what does that mean for us? How can we visually show it? Well, right here in the HUD, we have this shield text. We are going to draw a bar, a HUD bar that represents how much shield we have. When we're at 100% shield, the bar will be full. If we're at 50% shield, the bar will be half full. And when we're at 0% shield, it will be empty. So we are first going to draw the background of that bar. So if we look in this function, we are in draw shield bar. That function is getting called, just right above, from draw HUD. So in draw HUD, we're putting everything we need for the HUD, including our shield bar. It's just that this code is so long, it really should be in its own function. So that's what we're doing. Right off the bat here, I've defined 4 positioning variables. I have a variable for the bar's width and the bar's height. I have the bar's X value and the bar's Y value. So this is the left side and the top of the bar. And we're just going to use those for positioning. Now, we put some paint in our paint bucket, the text color. We align our text, and then we say shield. And that's exactly what we see right here. Now we just got to fill in the rest of the bar. Mission 3 is the background portion of that bar. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put a new paint in our paint bucket because I don't want it to be this text color. I want it to be a paint color specific for the background of the shield bar. And I think that is a constant that we saw in our color palette at the beginning of this video. It would be shield bar BG color. So right here, it's the first thing when I start typing shield, right there, tab for autocomplete. Now that paint is loaded. And what we're going to do is use that to draw a rectangle. The rectangle is going to serve as our health bar or our shield bar. The rect function takes 4 pieces of information. The X value of the top left corner and the Y value of the top left corner as our first 2 pieces. That's going to be bar X and bar Y, these positioning variables that I've defined right here. So I'm going to take in bar X and bar Y. Then I have to pass in the width of the rectangle and the height of the rectangle. These are our positioning variables right here, bar width and bar height. I'll pass those in as well. Bar width, tab for autocomplete, bar height, tab for autocomplete. Hey, just like that, we have drawn a rectangle that is our shield bar BG color. Let's see it. And there it is. That's going to represent the background of my shield bar. So this is what it would look like if our shield bar was completely empty. Now, that rectangle is very rectangle-y, all right? Its edges are a little too sharp for me. See these rigid, jagged lines? I want like rounded, curved edges over here to make it a little smoother. And so the rect function takes an extra piece of information. We can give it one more value, and that last value that we give it is the curving at the edges that we want. So the edge curvature, and we're going to give it a value of 6. Let's take a look now. Now we will round our edges over here on our bars, and it should look much nicer. Yeah, that looks a lot better for a health bar for me, for our shield energy. But that's only half of it, right? Because right now it's empty. If we had like 50% shield, I want to draw another bar over it that fills up half of the way. So now we have to work on mission number 4. We'll draw the bar that represents the shield energy that we have. Well, the first thing that we need to do is say, hey, it's not going to be this same color. We need to put a new paint in our paint bucket. So we'll call the fill function, and let's put in the shield bar fill color. So this time it's going to be the second item in our list when we type the word shield, tab for autocomplete. This is going to be like a really nice green. It's going to be the same green of the core of my player right here, or the bullets that I create. So it's going to tie our theme in together nicely. But we need to draw another rectangle. Well, let's just start by drawing the exact same rectangle. The left coordinate, the top left coordinates is going to have an X value of bar X and a Y value of bar Y. And then the width of the rectangle, we'll set it to be bar width. And the height, we'll set it to be bar height. And then we'll make the rounding 6. So we're literally just going to draw the exact same rectangle that we did over here. So we're going to draw the background rectangle, and then directly over it, we'll draw the shield bar rectangle. So there it is without it drawn over it, and here it is with it drawn over it. Hey, that looks great. This is what a full shield bar is going to look like in our HUD. So this is really, really something nice. But our shield is not going to stay full forever. In fact, we're going to have to change it. So let's discuss how we go about changing it. When we change it, it's the width of the bar that is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So in mission 4, we have to target the bar width right here. Why don't we make it smaller by multiplying by 0.5, a decimal. We'll multiply by a half. And if I refresh the page, now you can see this is what it would look like with our shield system half full. All right, so that looks really, really good. So multiplying by a half would be the same as multiplying by some fraction that is equivalent to a half. Let's do 10 over 20. All right, so no difference here. 10 over 20 is a half. So we still get that same half bar. But now, if we think about the denominator as the maximum value that is never going to change, and the numerator as a value that can decrease. So let's go down from 10 to maybe 5. Hey, our shield energy went down from 5 to 2. Hey, our shield energy went down again. And we could increase it from 2 up to, say, 18. Ooh, look at that. Our shield energy's filled up the correct amount. If we think about it this way, this is our maximum value of the quantity, and this is the value of the quantity that is constantly changing. Well, what is the maximum value of our shield energy? We had a constant for this system called max shield. So I'll type the word max, I'll hit tab to autocomplete. It's set to 100. And then the numerator is the value that is constantly changing in this system. Well, remember we set a variable called shield. Hey, this is what we're going to keep track of. So right now it's set to max shield, so it's going to be 100. And as we lose shield, this fraction is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and our width will grow smaller and smaller and smaller. All right, so that seems like it's working. One of the ways we could just quickly test this, if I go back to mission 2, where I set the shield system at the start of the game. Right now it's set to max shield. Let's do max shield times, let's set it just to max shield minus 30. So I'm going to subtract 30 from it. All right, so it went down. All right, let's subtract 70. All right, and you can see it's changing. So as we change this shield variable, our HUD will now change. Awesome. So we have a dynamic energy bar here that is going to change in time. But the only thing is, I mean, I'm the one changing it right now. I don't want that to happen. Eventually, I got to take damage. Now, if you think about it, who's going to deal us damage? Well, some kind of like alien ship that's going to be firing bullets down at us that we got to fire back at will deal us damage. And we don't have those aliens yet. So what are we going to do? How are we going to deal ourselves damage? Well, just like we added a hotkey, a debug key to force a game over. Remember the G key? We had that game over screen. We're going to simulate another hotkey for shield damage. So if I go to mission 5, it finds us in our key pressed function. And so right now we're checking, if I press a key, we're checking if it's enter to start the game, R to reset the game, B for a bomb. And if you notice, I no longer have the game over debug because we're now going to institute a hotkey for damage. And our game over condition is going to be set for when we take so much damage that our shield is at 0. So let's work through this. It says add a hotkey to simulate shield damage. Use a key press to trigger a decrease in shield energy. All right, so right now we are going to look and it says if key is equal to X or key is equal to X. I'm laughing here because I think you guys probably don't have that yet. You probably have if false. So let's assume we have if false here, all right? So if false is going to ask a question. It's always going to be no. Well, we want to trigger this whole set of code here if a specific key is pressed. And we're going to use X as our hotkey for taking damage. So I'm going to ask the question, if key that was pressed is equal to X or the key that was pressed is equal to capital X. Now we'll trigger our damage hotkey. But of course, right now we're not actually doing anything. So right now, if I run this and I press X, nothing's going to happen. Let's just see. See, nothing happens right now if I press X because we're triggering it. We're in our play mode. We now need to move into mission number 6, which says apply damage. All right, to apply damage, we're going to reduce the shield energy when damage occurs. Subtract a fixed amount each time the damage is triggered. All right, so how much do we want to subtract? I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know. I think this is probably something that should be part of our constants for this system. In fact, this is a knob that we can tune and change. And it's a constant here, the third one down if I start typing shield drain per hit. We set this in our first mission of this video. It is 15 damage points. So let's now test this out. If I restart my game, refresh my game, I'm flying around, I'm shooting some bullets, I drop a bomb, and then I'm simulating damage. X. Ooh, I took damage. X. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We said at the start of the video, it should be 7 that can kill us. Here we go. Ready? 7. Ooh, I'm still alive. And it looks like my health is going way in the opposite direction. Oh my goodness. I have like negative shield energy right now. That is no good. What we need to do is stop it at 0. See, the shield energy can't go less than 0 and it can't go greater than max shield. It needs to fall within those two values. So what we need to do here in mission 7 is constrain the shield energy. Just like we constrained the player's movement so that it could not go below 0 in the X direction or above the width in the Y or in the X direction. Same thing in the Y direction. Or in the X direction. And in the Y direction, we couldn't do it. We constrained our player. We got to constrain our shield. So we're going to type shield is equal to the constrain function. Constrain takes 3 pieces of information. The thing that we want to constrain our shield. We set the lower bound, 0. Don't go below 0. And the upper bound, max shield. That's our upper bound. Don't go above it. So now we have a way to cap the shield at 0. Let's take a look. I'm going to take damage, 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 damage. Here we go. All right. And it's not going negative. I am spamming the X key, and our shield is not going into the negative values. So this is working wonderfully. Excellent. Ooh, I just launched a bomb for fun. Bombsies. Here we go. Fire some bullets. Now, what's got to happen when our shield hits 0? Of course, that is game over. So we need to trigger our game over event when the shield is fully depleted to 0. And that is where mission 8 comes into play. Mission 8 says, trigger game over when the shield reaches 0. Switch to the lose state when the player is out of energy. So we're asking a question here. It says if false. Well, false is always going to be false, so the question is going to always answer no, so that's no good. We got to ask a question, and if the answer to that question is yes or true, we are going to set our current game mode variable to lose. And if you remember, what is that going to do for us? It's going to stop all gameplay operations. It's going to show the lose overlay because the game is over. So what is that question we want to ask? Well, if we look at what we've done here in this function, we press a key. If that key was the X key and we're in our play mode, we applied damage. We reduced our shield. We constrained it to make sure it wouldn't go down below 0. And now we're going to check to see if it is at 0. Because if it is at 0, we've died. It is a game over. So I'll say if shield less than or equal to 0. And we probably could just do equal. I mean, because we're constraining it here to 0. But just for best practices or covering all scenarios here, we'll do less than or equal to. So if it's less than or equal to 0, the current game mode will be set to lose. All right, I think that is our shield system in its entirety. Let's take a look. Let's play test this whole thing through. Okay, So here, I'll refresh the game. Here is our current state of Nova Strike. Our nice start overlay will transition to the play state with enter. I can move my ship around. We've got some great constraining going on here, staying in our game window. I can fire bullets on a cooldown. I can launch my bombs, and then I can take damage, simulating damage with the shield. All right, I took a hit. 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 I'm fighting to stay alive, dropping another bomb, but I'm overwhelmed. And I take a hit, and then I take one last hit. And as soon as I take that last hit, my health, my shield energy drops below 0, and we have officially been destroyed. Maybe I want to play again. Maybe I want to go right back to my title screen, and that's great. Our shield system resets completely. So that's one thing maybe we needed to check. At a game over, I want to play again. Shield is also resetting back to max health. So remember, we did that in, what was it, mission 2. We set it back to max health. All right, I think this is a great place to stop. Now we have a lot of these crucial systems for a shmup, a shooter. We've got a fire system, we've got a bomb system, we've got essentially a health system with our shield energy. The only thing we're missing, the key pivotal thing we're missing, are like enemies that we can actually fire at, and they can fire back at us. So we'll begin working on those systems in upcoming videos. But before we do, there's one key thing that we got to add to this game before we can implement enemies, and we'll start working on that in our next video. So I'll see you then.